Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
It is time to assemble. To newly assemble? No, that's too stupid of a joke. Anyway, this is the Uncanny Omar. You're watching Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. Today I'm going to give you an advanced look at the new Avengers Omnibus Volume 2 from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and check this book out together. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on November 4th or 5th, depending on where you get your books. What we're looking at here is the direct market cover. This is the one that is supplied by Jim Chung. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover, and that one is supplied by Billy Tan. And there is a difference on the spines, just like there's a difference 95% of the time on the spines from direct market and book market from Marvel Omnis. Everything underneath the dust jacket is the same, so let's shift the focus back to this. So here are some of our main characters. During the beginning of this run, we have Spider-Man in his black costume, because this is again taking place after Civil War, Wolverine, Echo, Doctor Strange, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and the mysterious Ronin. And then again, the new Avengers, Bendis, Yu, Chung, Tan, and Immonen. And then the spine of the book, the new Avengers, and Volume 2, and our creators with that image that we saw on the cover. Outlaw Avengers, that's right, this is this particular era of the new Avengers. Now, before I take the dust jacket off, this stuff in here has been previously collected before, and of course a series of trade paperbacks and oversized hardcovers. As a matter of fact, they are reprinting this era as a modern era, modern era epic collection. So this stuff is being reprinted in this format. It's just got a little bit different mapping. Not too much different, but this stuff has been collected again in oversized format. And while I still have the dust jacket on, I meant to say, let's go ahead and put it on the shelf right after New Avengers Omnibus Volume 1, and of course before the Hickman era. We still need the rest of the Bendis stuff collected before we get to Hickman. So we have more Omnis left to collect. Now, underneath the dust jacket, let's look at the flaps really quick. Continuing the blockbuster series that forever changed Earth's mightiest heroes with this image from Billy Tan and bio on the creators. And then we have this great image right here of this fight against the Hood and his secrets as well. It's not so much of a secret society, super villain team up from, I think this is from New Avengers Annual number 2. So we're going to go ahead and open the book up and talk about the stories found in here while also showing off this beautiful artwork. We'll look at the extras, and I'll do a quick comparison to the oversized hardcovers. Let's go ahead and get this omnibus open. You have these crimson red end sheets, and then the new Avengers image here, supplied by Billy Tan, including some classic characters coming back to the fold, or just paying a visit. Written by Brian Michael Bendis with Brian Reed, who co-wrote the Illuminati miniseries, and then it is broken down by different arcs in here. And pretty much, actually, I think this is the way that the book is collected. And they even included the breaking into comics the Marvel way by Christian Knock, and inks by the phenomenal Terry Austin. But you do have Lionel Francis Yu in here, Jim Chung, Michael Gaydos, David Mack, as well as Billy Tan, Alex Malev, and Stuart Eminem coming in here. Get a little bit of Amazing Spider-Man, so some Joe Quesada, Marco Jurjevic, and Mike Mayhew, Mike McCone, and Brian Hitch doing the big finale with some beautiful flashbacks. Okay, so collected in this book is New Avengers 32 through 64, Annuals 2 and 3, New Avengers Illuminati 1 through 5, Secret Invasion Dark Reign one-shot, the Free Comic Book Day 2009, Dark Reign The List Avengers one-shot, New Avengers Finale, and then material from Amazing Spider-Man 601, and then breaking into comics the Marvel way. The book has a total of 1,224 pages and retails for $125. Spoilers. Spoilers for what happened previously in New Avengers Omnibus Volume 1, and some of the things that happened in Civil War, and then, of course, our new status quo, and then leading into Secret Invasion. Okay, so previously in Civil War, which, by the way, was not collected in the first Omnibus, I just want to clarify that, but there was some ramifications because of what happened there. And that is, this is like the outlaw era of the Avengers. Right after this, they went to, or after Civil War, they ended up going to Japan. All being led, of course, by Luke Cage, who's kind of like the new team leader, even though he jokes about what I am, who voted for that. And in Japan, they ended up killing Elektra, who was at the hand, or I guess, who was the Hand's leader at the time. Now, it wasn't really Elektra that they killed, but a Skrull. So this first issue right here kind of shows the mistrust going on within the New Avengers. None of them can really trust each other because if this woman was a Skrull, then how long has she been a Skrull, and who else is a Skrull? So the first story arc is legit called The Trust for a reason. Now, in here, I guess Brian Michael Bendis was always a fan of, like, these obscure characters that were created. One of them, of course, by Paul Jenkins, and it was the Sentry who he used, and then that character moved on over to Mighty Avengers, and you'll see him later on. But the other character that he really liked was this guy named The Hood. And The Hood is one of my favorite miniseries. I've actually done a Hidden Gems on the character many years ago in his miniseries. It's Parker Robbins, and he brings the Hood back in this storyline called Trust. And this right here is how the Hood is able to build up an army to stand up against the Avengers. And he gathers the most obscure armies by taking out some villains that that to him they seem like a threat, and decides, okay, now that I've got this army built and I've got these powers, let's go after the New Avengers. And in here, this will all lead to, by the way, this whole Night Nurse and Doctor Strange. What? That kind of came out of nowhere. But anyway, what ends up happening is that he takes this new formed army of villains and attacks the Avengers. And when I say, like, the Hood's villains, it's this huge, just, yeah, all these characters right here. Not just the Wrecking Crew, but you've got characters like Bushwhacker, the Corruptor, Madame Mask, Whitney, kind of is like his right-hand man. And you've got Scarecrow, Razor Fist, Vermin, like all these characters that have existed in the Marvel Universe for a while. One of the things they did was drop a Venom bomb, or I guess we would just call it a symbiote bomb this nowadays. And it infected a lot of people. That actually is shown also in the pages of Mighty Avengers. I was hoping that everything would be collected between New Avengers and Mighty Avengers, but it seems like they're just focusing on New Avengers. Do you need to read Mighty Avengers to enjoy this? No, not at all. They're doing their own thing and they're going on their own missions. But it is really interesting when you get to like this part right here. The Mighty Avengers, these guys right here are dealing with it. And all of this whole trust thing kind of comes to an end in the pages of the New Avengers Annual number 2. And there's this huge battle that takes place in this particular annual right here. And is it the final fight between the New Avengers and Parker Robbins? Absolutely not. Now, before we get to Secret Invasion, we do get this miniseries called The Illuminati. And The Illuminati is a 5-issue miniseries that takes place before I guess the way I remember reading it is I read it before reading the big Secret Invasion event, because it does set it up, especially issues 1 and 5. So what it does is it retcons a lot of the Marvel Universe in a way that these guys right here, well, actually, let's just use this panel. Beautiful splash page with wonderful pencils by Jim Chung. But you've got Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic, Iron Man, Black Bolt, Namor, and Professor Xavier. It kind of details, we had the one shot, but this goes on and talks about the meaning of these group of characters that deal with and then avert catastrophic, possibly universe-ending events in the Marvel Universe. We just didn't know that they met from time to time. The very first story they deal with is the Kree-Skrull War. If you're a fan of the Kree-Skrull War and you come back and read this, you're going to be like, oh, that's interesting. That's where they got that idea. Maybe, maybe not, or it could just make you mad going, that doesn't make any sense. None of this is possible. Why would these characters work together? Doesn't matter. It is now canon. It's so canon, people were really ticked off at the lack of appearance of the Illuminati in the Doctor Strange movie. The next few issues focuses on big events like the Infinity Gauntlet and learning to deal with the Infinity Stones. Infinity Gems as we called them back then. And then the Secret Wars. And it goes into Secret Wars 2 a little bit with the Beyonder. There's a little bit of a retcon with his origin and where perhaps he came from. There's the coming of Marvel Boy right here, and it's the guys talking about all the ladies in their lives. And they do acknowledge the fact that sometimes some of the characters aren't there because, well, they're disposed of at the time. And the last issue kind of sets up what will become Secret Invasion. And Secret Invasion is the next storyline that we're going to be seeing. In between that are these issues with Jessica Jones and Luke Cage dealing with their relationship and kind of almost taking a break and seeing what exactly they want to do next. And then we have an issue that it focuses on Echo, a character that's still new to the team. Now, we move on to Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion is a event at Marvel Comics. The actual 8-issue event is not collected in here. The main issues of that has been collected in an omnibus format. And I don't have the Omni because I have the oversized hardcover. And I couldn't tell you how the omnibus is mapped. I can just tell you that the oversized hardcover collects the 8-issue event. Now, after issue 1 is where you come to the New Avengers, because this shows you how exactly heroes and some people around the world have been replaced by the Skrulls. And man, there's some really good issues in here that feature some of these characters that think they've been this person for so long and then they turn out to be a Skrull. Some of them are simulations. And they kind of tell you a little bit here as to what happened previously in issues of Secret Invasion. This one focuses on the character of Jessica Jones. But this big event is just a huge, huge fight and exactly who to trust in the Marvel Universe. There's also something big that happens towards the end of this particular storyline that reunites a lot of the Avengers. Because again, spoilers for what happened previously and the ramifications of something like Civil War. But there was a death at the end of Civil War that, well, it took place in Captain America 25, where Steve Rogers ended up getting shot and killed. And you can find out how he ends up coming back and who ended up shooting him. But right now, who is Captain America is none other than Bucky. So Bucky Barnes is Captain America during this time. They even do the whole House of M thing. How could some of these characters have been Skrulls during House of M? And they actually focus on that. It's a really interesting theory. And S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra both had sleeper Skrull agents that had no idea they were Skrulls. And I think that was my favorite thing about the Skrull invasion, is these characters that had no idea who they were. And there's even an aftermath that ends up happening. So they do tell you that there is a reunion at the end of the Secret Invasion and what ends up happening, who those characters are, and then, of course, who came back, who they found that had been put into a state of suspended animation. One of those characters will end up joining the New Avengers. Something big happens at the end of Secret Invasion that will kind of pave the way for the Dark Reign era of New Avengers. Hey, speaking of, or really the Dark Reign era of the entire Marvel Universe. Alex Malev supplies the cover here with a gorgeous Emma and a really creepy Namor. Not sure who he used as a... well, I'm pretty sure I've joked about it before, who he used as a model for Namor. But this is the Hood approaching them with an offer. So now we have a new lineup for the new Avengers after Secret Invasion. Because at the end of Secret Invasion, Norman Osborn kind of sets himself up for leading a group of talented individuals who become your Dark Avengers. Now we have Bucky Barnes taking the leadership, but really it's still Luke Cage. We've got Mockingbird, so Bobby is back, and then of course Spider-Woman, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Ronan, Echo's taking a break from the team. And then Luke Cage and Jessica Jones are trying to find his daughter. And Norman Osborn offers him help. He's like, yeah, I'll help you find your baby. And at a cost. This all leads to a huge fight between the Dark Avengers and the New Avengers that takes place in issue number 50. And this is your team of Dark Avengers here. And yes, they're about to throw down with the New Avengers. Because that's what villains do, right? They're just playing the role of a superhero, although we do have some heroes in that team, like the Sentry, and you can find out exactly how this ends, because it goes in weird and different ways. The next story arc, it focuses on Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is back on the team, and he is no longer fit to be Sorcerer Supreme. So this story arc right here kind of sets up a character that will become a part of the New Avengers when it relaunches, with Avengers as the ongoing title. But they're looking for a new Sorcerer Supreme and who is worthy, so they go through a lot of the characters that you would expect from the Marvel Universe, and some you may not expect from the Marvel Universe that will become the new Sorcerer Supreme. This is free comic book day, the way things are. Again, beautiful artwork by Jim Chung and our established team dealing with things in Asgard after this big fight with Secret Invasion. So one of the other big things that ended up happening, because I have to talk about this, is the return of the original three, the holy trinity of the Avengers, or when people think of the Avengers, and that is Captain America and Thor and Iron Man. So Thor does make it back into the Marvel Universe. We're not done with the Hood. Man, does this guy like to poke the bear. So the Hood ends up making a deal with Norman Osborn. This goes back to that Dark Avengers, New Avengers Dark Reign one-shot. He's made a deal with Norman Osborn. The New Avengers debated on how to deal with someone like Norman Osborn. They can't take him out, but he's such a public figure. Kind of reminds me of that era where Lex Luthor was president of the United States. By the way, absolutely stunning artwork in here from Stuart Eminem. I love that he came on the book and became the new ongoing artist. He was super fast. So that I think, to me, this is some of the best art that he was able to achieve, because he was like, forever the guy has just been changing his art style, and that's something that I always admired about him. So this arc really is about taking down Norman Osborn. Unfortunately, something ends up happening to Luke Cage, where it kind of takes him out of commission, and it's got perhaps some supernatural elements, but maybe not. But it is about taking down Hammer. Now, all of this, along with the Dark Avengers, which is not collected in here. This is the annual, if I'm not mistaken. No, the annual is the one that's drawn by, Mike Mayhew, right here. So this will set up the things that will happen in Siege when they end up capturing Hawkeye. And the Dark Avengers are going to move on Asgard. Now, Siege is also not collected in here. It's collected in an oversized hardcover. And it is also collected in the Thor by J. Michael Straczynski and Kieran Gillen Omnibus. What's collected in here are just issues of New Avengers. Now, it may not have had the Secret Invasion Omnibus, but I do have this right here. The Siege oversized hardcover, which has Siege. And I did triple check. Siege is just collected all in one part. So you have like Siege 1 through 4, and then you've got the issues of New Avengers, and then you've got the issues of Mighty Avengers and Dark Avengers. So that's not even in reading order. And I think that's the thing that, like, was taken out of this, or I'm sorry, was not put into this book, was Siege. I wish they had put that in there, because that kind of ends everything for the New Avengers era. Unless, of course, they have plans to give us a Dark Avengers Omnibus, because it really does fit in there, because that is that ending as well. Or maybe one day, Mighty Avengers Omnibus. That would be great too, including the Dan Slott era. But it is not in here. What we do have here are the stories of the characters that are part of this big battle taking place on Asgard. But not everybody's on Asgard, so some of the characters stayed here on Earth. And that's mainly what Brian Michael Bendis does. He acknowledges the fact that there's a huge fight going on in Asgard, and then, of course, some of the things happening on Earth with some flashbacks, and the Hood playing a big part in this. And then we get the finale, and of course, this is drawn by the phenomenal Brian Hitch. Now, something happens at the end of Siege. I don't want to spoil, and you can find out for yourself, but this will give us a new era of the Avengers. We are breaking into comics the Marvel way, or just material from, and that is the Brian Michael Bendis stuff in here, focusing on his New Avengers. I still think the double page spread page, that spread page from the New Avengers finale, it's one of my favorites. I just like how characters are just walking around in street clothes and deciding what to do with their future. And their future is pretty much, hey, let's form another team of Avengers. We'll split it up. We'll call it Avengers, and we'll call it New Avengers. If you're watching my reading orders of Avengers, I've already covered that. But that stuff is, as of this video, not available in omnibus format, or in oversized hardcover format, with the exception of the first few. We do have covers. Some of them are in thumbnail size, and I think the thumbnail size covers are the ones that are homage covers. Let's see, because there are splash page covers, but it looks like the homage covers are done in this format. Very nice. I'm glad they did that. In case you're not familiar, that this was originally the Bring On the Bad Guys, which is a very, I guess it's, I don't, that it's not as popular as something like, I don't know, Avengers #1, or maybe even to modern readers, the Illuminati one, or House of M1. And then we have the Marvel Spotlight on Dark Reign. Character designs by Billy Tan. Original art here by Lionel Francis Yu. Man, I love his art. Now, he stops drawing New Avengers because he went on to become the ongoing artist on the Secret Invasion miniseries. And then I think he went on to do Dark Wolverine after that. Some more original art in here. Billy Tan, Jim Chung. And he actually, Brian Michael Bendis does actually give an origin to the Hood. If you remember the Hood and how that story ends, which kind of leaves it open, it's like, oh, well, I can kind of guess who the Hood got his powers from. And some Dark Reign ads. Let's look at the binding, and then we'll do a quick comparison to one of these oversized hardcovers. 1,224 pages, printed at the Mega Print. So, paper stock seems a little bit thicker than the Donley and the iMac. Maybe just a little bit. But there's still minimal bleed through happening. So let's actually compare it to the oversized hardcover. So this collects issues 32. Yeah, right here. This actually gives you the title. I love that the same previously is used over here, though. And comparing again the internal pages. The paper stock on the oversized hardcover seems, here, let's look over here, like it's just a little bit thicker. But there's still a little bit of bleed through. It's a little more prominent over here with the omnibus. One of the things that I want to do, though, is, there we go, compare the way that it lays over, because we're looking at some really tight binding over here, as some of these oversized hardcovers tend to do. But honestly, it's not terrible. And then over here, the sewn binding. And you saw that eye. It's a pretty good eye, honestly. So this is a little bit better for the double page spreads. And the colors on the Omnibus edition don't really have this, what I see is like a yellow tone, a little more yellowish tone over here in the OHC. That's a quick comparison, and that was my overview of the new Avengers Omnibus Volume 2. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $250 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if this is how you are picking up the new Avengers, if you would love for them to continue Bendis' Avengers run, whether it's Mighty Avengers, and then of course Dark Avengers, and then of course the relaunch of Avengers and New Avengers, because he kept going after this. But that is it for now, everyone. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.